So let's start with something that honestly sounds like a mix of drama, diplomacy, and pure suspense. Donald Trump said that Chinese President Xi Jinping personally assured him that China will not invade Taiwan during Trump's presidency. Xi apparently told him, "I will never do it as long as you are president." And Trump added that Xi also said China is very patient. Now just think about this for a second. The world's biggest authoritarian leader telling Trump face to face that he won't touch Taiwan, but only as long as Trump is in power. What happens after? What does that mean for India, for Asia, for the balance of power in the world? And how much trust can we put in this kind of personal assurance? Trump made this comment in a Fox News interview right before his scheduled discussions with Vladimir Putin about Ukraine. So immediately you see, this is not just about Taiwan. This is part of a bigger chessboard. US-China, US-Russia, Russia-Ukraine, and of course, India, right in the middle of all this. Because let's be clear, when America talks about Taiwan, when China flexes in the Pacific, when Russia drags on the war in Ukraine, India cannot stay untouched. Our economy, our trade routes, our security, everything is directly or indirectly linked. Now, let's step back for a moment. China has always called Taiwan its own territory, promising reunification by force if necessary. Taiwan, of course, says absolutely not. We are not part of you. The US, on the other hand, follows something called the One China policy, but still supplies weapons to Taiwan, which makes Beijing furious. This issue is the number one flashpoint in US-China relations. And here comes Trump saying, "Don't worry, Xi told me personally, nothing will happen while I'm here." First question that comes to mind, should the world really rely on a personal promise between two men when we're talking about one of the most dangerous possible wars of our time? If you're watching from India, let's connect this to something closer home. Remember the Doklam standoff in 2017? Or the Galwan clash in 2020? At that time also, there were repeated assurances from China that things wouldn't escalate, that they valued peace with India. And then, our soldiers had to face the worst kind of betrayal in Galwan Valley. So when Trump says Xi gave him a promise, as Indians we can immediately relate. We've seen what Chinese promises really mean on the ground. But there's a deeper layer here. Trump isn't just casually saying this. He threw that line right before meeting Putin, trying to flex like he's the only guy who can handle both China and Russia at the same time. He wanted to look like the hero who could stop China from touching Taiwan and also bring peace to Ukraine with one handshake. Sounds cinematic, right? But reality? His big Alaska summit with Putin collapsed like a badly written Bollywood sequel. All hype, zero climax. So while Trump lectures the world about Xi's patience, the only patient one here seems to be Trump himself, patiently waiting for a win that never comes. The man talks like a deal maker, but keeps walking out with nothing more than photo ops and empty lines. Now, let's zoom out and look at recent developments. In June this year, Trump had his first confirmed call with Xi in his second term, and before that, another one in April. These calls were shrouded in secrecy, unlike the usual loud American style of publishing readouts. That itself shows the Taiwan matter is far too sensitive. Meanwhile, China has been flying fighter jets near Taiwan almost every week, running naval exercises and testing blockade scenarios. That doesn't look like patience, it looks like preparation. And while all this is happening in the Pacific, what is India facing? Increased tariffs from the US, pressure on technology exports, and endless Chinese attempts to expand influence in the Indian Ocean. This is where things get interesting for Indian viewers. On one side, Trump says he will protect Taiwan by securing a personal assurance from Xi. On the other side, he is busy slapping tariffs on Indian goods. So tell me honestly, as Indians, should we clap for Trump's diplomacy or should we ask, "Bhai, what about us?" Sometimes geopolitics really looks like a thriller suspense movie. Only thing missing is background music. Now I know what many of you might be asking. What does this really mean for India? Let's break it down. If China is patient and holds back during Trump's presidency, they may use this time to strengthen their military, build more alliances, and quietly squeeze Taiwan's space internationally. The moment a different US president comes in, the risk of escalation will skyrocket. That means the next few years are a preparation phase for Beijing. For India, this means two things. We need to watch China's military build up like a hawk, and we need to build stronger ties with Taiwan in trade and technology, without making too much noise. Because remember, Taiwan is not just about geopolitics. It's about semiconductors, chips, and future technology. And India's dream of becoming a global manufacturing hub depends on chips. This brings me to a genuine appreciation point. Despite all the drama, Taiwan's leaders have been very smart. Instead of jumping up and down with Trump's statement, they quietly said, "Well, thank you for support, but we must focus on our own defense." That's a very Indian attitude, na? Like when someone says, "Don't worry, I'll cover your bill," and you politely thank them but still keep your wallet ready. Taiwan knows it cannot rely 100% on US promises, and frankly, India should also take this lesson. But here comes my hot take. Trump's statement might actually be dangerous. Because if Taiwan starts thinking China won't invade under Trump, they may relax a bit. And that could be a mistake. Overconfidence in American assurances has hurt many countries before. Remember Afghanistan. Remember how the US promised full support and then left in 2021? Taiwan cannot afford to repeat that mistake. And India too should never build its China policy around the assumption that the US will always have our back. We must be self-reliant in defense. After all, look at what's happening right now. The US slapped a 50% tariff on Indian goods, but at the same time postponed tariffs on China for another 90 days. If Washington can squeeze its so-called strategic partner while giving breathing space to its real rival, then India has every reason to trust only its own strength. Now let's add some contrasts. Imagine two scenarios. Scenario 1. Trump is right, Xi waits patiently, no war happens, the world enjoys some breathing space. Scenario 2. Xi is just buying time, using Trump's presidency to prepare, and the moment there's a change in Washington, China strikes hard at Taiwan. Which scenario looks more realistic to you? Personally, I'd say the second one, because history shows China always plays the long game. For Indians, there's also an emotional hook here. Just think, if tomorrow China attacks Taiwan, the ripple effect will directly hit India. Trade routes in the Indo-Pacific will choke, energy imports will become costlier, semiconductor supply chains will collapse, and Chinese aggression in Ladakh or Arunachal could intensify. So Trump's statement is not some distant American drama. It's directly tied to our wallets, our jobs, and our national security. At the same time, let's give some credit. At least Trump is openly talking about keeping China in check. Under Biden, there was too much diplomatic doublespeak. Trump's bluntness actually reveals the core issue. Xi is waiting, not abandoning. That honesty helps countries like India to plan realistically. So yes, some appreciation is due here. Now let me throw a thought prompt for you. Do you think India should quietly deepen defense and technology ties with Taiwan, even if it angers China? Or should we stay neutral and avoid poking the dragon? Tell me in the comments, because this is one of the most important strategic dilemmas India faces in the next decade. My own personal opinion? I'd say yes, we should absolutely build stronger ties with Taiwan, but smartly. Don't do big flashy announcements, just like we handled the Quad in its early days. Silent, steady, and strategic. Because whether Trump is in power or not, whether Xi waits or not, India cannot afford to be caught unprepared in the semiconductor race. So, to wrap it all up, Trump's revelation is big, dramatic, and headline-grabbing. Xi says no invasion under Trump, but admits China is patient. What does that mean? It means the clock is ticking, not stopped. It means India should prepare for a post-Trump world, where China might act more aggressively. And it means we must build our own strength, not rely on others' promises. If you've stayed with me till now, you know this issue is not just about America and China. It's about us, our security, our economy, our future. And if you want to see how America plays the same double game when it comes to India, then click the link here and watch my previous video where I broke down the US Human Rights Report on India and Pakistan. Trust me, after watching that, you'll understand exactly how Washington talks one thing and does another. And before you go, don't forget, hit the like button if this analysis gave you a new perspective, subscribe to stay updated on geopolitics explained in plain Indian style, and share this with friends who love global affairs but hate boring newsreader tone. See you in the next one. Jai Hind.